by the 1880s, the railways had made the coach. And so the CDC negotiated kind of paper.
Bunch of private travel, nothing like.
Keep going round.
There you got him.
We're waiting for him farming, yeah? Keep going. Kind of 15 feet low. Yeah, that's better windows in the background, yeah. Wait for a hidden farthing. Okay, go now. Another one coming. Okay, we'll catch that penny farthing. Keep going a second.
That's the job. Yeah, it seems to be. It's specialised in the environment. Wow. Sort of bit. We didn't have a time, did we? No, we couldn't. We needed it. No. Made it here before. No. I was long going to do so. Oh yeah, but I would have thought Japanese would be here.
Pull over on the right hand side, Joe. Get a bit further up actually. Keep going up to that black side. speed up to that. Just go for it. Yeah.
Oh, you got some coming the other way now. You got some coming the other way.
Yeah.
Keep going, it'll merge in with the main.
Is he? Oh, right.
Right past the camera. You're too late, mate.
I can see someone looming up behind me.
Bet you like to, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Riding past. And we'll come round.
I mean the group shot.
You actually catching a skirt in a machine.
Yeah, they come. They come in this way, but not this way. Come back!
Most of the... It had four wheels over it too.
Some are on rover bicycles as well.
Sorry, mate.
What kind of oil do you use?
I use not group.
Uphill and dark. So 1 in 4, things like that.
Right, fella, good? I bet he's not hot then.
The English pleasure.
You're late, and don't be late again. Otherwise you're out.
Say when.
Running camera at speed.
Off you go!
I'm going to veer off at the last minute.
Go to the left, I go to the right.
You said over cameraman, didn't you?
That's it.
So, you know, although we're talking, we don't actually see him.
That's right.
We don't even know that he's there sort of thing, do we?
I don't know you. Yeah, we can got the scratch card on it. Started. Any slightest movement I can see it definitely.
my road that fine.
Decided just to go for it.
Right, now stand on there and climb into the slope, go behind. Right, and right up, go on. There, right. 3,
Where do you saw the planes come in?
No, I'm not supposed to let her do that. Yeah, that's a bit odd actually. So do you kind of help the steering slightly with the way you're coming?
Well,
Relax on one
you don't push as it's going over the top.
I should probably pick him up and then let's go over the front.
So you have to take your own driving license.
Far ahead here, Joe.
Okay, so we're good.
Do we want to concentrate on Catherine?
Yeah, if we can, but the trouble is you can't. If you have to let you get those two guys go ahead and then tuck in
Let's split them up then. Let them overtake us and then
Unless I can get Catherine to come to
Yeah.
the front. It's after this lady's gone past you. Right.
Go.
I mean,
A bit closer.
Well, yeah, I think I'm quite well suited to that, I must say. Have you got a modern equivalent or not that occasionally comes out?
no. What's the newest? Oh yeah.
It's only veteran.
What's the newest one?
Well, presumably 1909 or something.
Oh no, I've got them from 1868
Oh, right.
up to 1993, I think.
Oh, right.
Oh, but Sinclair is new now.
Yeah,
The
gosh.
electric one.
Wow.
The electric one.
That's a sort of,
Electric motor on the
yeah, was that the one you pack up in a little case and take it out? It's
Yeah.
a sort of city commuter type
That's
thing.
right.
Yeah.
I
remember
mean,
that.
We got a few of, we got the C5.
You're,
Uh,
That's stretching the word bike, isn't it, really?
No, it's still, no, it's
Is
recovery.
it still classed as
Yes,
a...
because it can be pedalled. It's
Right.
You could class it as a recumbent.
Yeah.
Because you're lying down to ride.
So you don't actually need a licence for it?
No, all tax.
No. No, that's
insurance.
pretty good going, isn't it? Yeah. So how many have you got altogether?
I don't know.
Hundreds.
Probably more than that. I
Goodness
don't
me.
know.
Yeah. And do they each get a regular outing, or do you find it quite difficult to ride them all?
More out.
No.
But I mean, I've had six at the NEC this weekend,
Oh right, gosh.
and then put them away and bought 2 more out for the camp.
Yeah. Wow.
So, we can overtake.
I think we're allowed to. We're faster, aren't we? Far superior.
I mean, I like this one, it's a different. I like unusual machines.
Well, mascot on the front, is that serious?
Yeah, they used to have mascots on the front.
The nickel?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing is, today's law, they don't really like it because if somebody steps out in front, it would cut them off.
Well, that doesn't mean you can't have a Jaguar mascot on the front of your car.
No, you can.
Well,
on the new
providing it's pre
Yeah, it's got to be.
whatever.
Yeah, 390.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why they took numbers later off motorbikes off the front. Because people were getting cut off. I mean, I think you've done a lot more damage before the actual number blades hit them. It just, well, you end up with 2 people. But I mean, like I got a shaft drive, that's okay, yes, the weekend. I mean, the car people and motorcycle people think they were the only ones to have shaft. But we had them in 03. 02 and 03 we had shaft drive.
That's the way to dismount, is it?
Keep going, actually, Joe. Keep going. We're going to let them go past us on the static.
Well, yeah, or something. I was going to get them around the corner. That's why I was doing a bit, yeah.
All right, stop there then. Sorry.
Yeah, stop. Please. And then we've got to stop.
Just let them go past us on this. Here we go.
No beer, or one, or people in another one.
What's your opinion?
Well, I don't know, it's involved, and I like riding that.
Perfect.
And bone shot.
running camera.
Okay.
Hang on. Okay, we're running, we're at speed. Got some sunshine.
Okay guys, off we go!
Now which way are we going?
Something here, right? We're going left.
It's a bit showy.
We could always go that way. Yeah. We could go that way, can't we? Yeah. That'd be more fun. Straight on.
Through the fields, right? Right. I don't think we're back Right. Not as well as this. Yeah.
We reckon that way.
What's the consensus? Right?
Right. Or straight on.
Right, straight on.
Straight on. Let's go for it.
You always get good. I'll follow the leader.
Straight on.
1, 2, 3. Yes. You ready? Just what you want.
Oh, that makes me weak.
Oh my god. I'm just about keeping up with you, I tell you.
If you could try talking to the camera, if anything swings tonight, like really fun, it's really hot day, or I've not met people, or I've compared my bike with the other bikes. And
Yeah, I've compared my bike with the other bikes and I think I'm in the lead. I've compared my bike with the other bikes and I think mine's far superior and I'm definitely in the lead. But my brakes squeak. And theirs don't. It is absolutely baking today, isn't it? Lovely. Tell you, the uphill bits are quite hard on my bike, let alone theirs.
No problem.
Woo! Guys, it's a slow bike, but in actual fact, so we're the leading party, presumably, are we?
I think there's 2 on actually.
No, I can't see anyone else in front. No, we're definitely not last. I know that. We wouldn't go straight to the pub, would we?
No.
We want a good cycle. Actually, to be honest, you stay in one gear, don't you, uphill? So you're probably that is really all you need, isn't it? Yeah.
And if you want just 3 gears or no gears,
These are no gear guys with me. Oh yeah, you've got 3 gears.
what about the thing? So how many gears have you got? She says, I've got 21 or something, and it doesn't make it any easier or something like that.
Okay.
Okay, so when you're ready, go.
So how many gears have you got? 3. Well, I've got 21 and I'm still huffing and puffing and it's not very easy.
You get, when you're quite close together,
that would be
that's
fine.
perfect.
Like this.
Okay, right then, and when you say,
We need to be going up a hill, don't we really? I'm not huffing and puffing because it's dead easy going downhill. Right, let's do it again. You go ahead and I'll zoom up behind you cunningly. Oh, how many gears have you got then? So my 21 really, I mean I'm huffing and puffing a little bit. It's not that easy.
No.
You can cope with your 3 quite happily, can you? Okay, let's see. Off I go. I don't know why they ever made them with more gears in a way, because it doesn't really help, does it? Gives you a bit more control. Powers in the legs. Powers in the legs. Don't know if it's in my legs actually, but after today, after 20 miles, I think it will be in my legs. The only reason I'm cycling like this is because I know there's a cup of tea in it, in sight. Yeah? Yeah. Presumably.
don't worry.
Okay.
How many miles have you all done today?
What have you done today?
It's 26 altogether, isn't it? I think so. Yeah. Probably about, I'd say just 16. Yeah?
16. 15. It's not bad, is it?
45.
Slow down everyone a little bit. Don't slow down that much.
Is it? What, I need to put it down?
Start off with.
Get your legs through. Might have
Shall
to
I even
adjust
do
them.
it on that too? Might be a bit small.
Yeah, we'll get your legs.
Woo! So you just start pedalling.
You can back pedal.
Did you get your...
That's alright, isn't it?
Try back pedaling.
No.
Oh, what? Not made for long legs, is it really? Why am I not moving? I got some help. So how do you start me? You just go off.
Push off really hard.
Here goes.
Ooh, fall off and do really something.
Whoa! No, I've got it. I'm off. Whoa! That's not so easy. The straight on bit isn't so easy. Woo! I think I know where I'm going anyway. Yeah. Oh yeah. You go ahead of me.
Finally have the car in shot.
It's pretty amazing. I had a go and it is not as easy as it looks, is it? Yeah, with the sheep on. You've got all the benefits of modern gears and everything, but it would just be, you have to be very relaxed, don't you, with it? With the seating. How long does it take you to actually get involved in it and sit on it and work it?
Not too long actually. Yeah.
You must be one of the youngest members of the veteran cycling group.
17. We're just saying that to do these chats probably will need to put mics on people, so
Do we need to be closer?
No.
Oh, it's no good.
so just smiley shots.
Smiley.
17 on 18 in September.
Oh.
Sorry.
We're a bit faster than us, really, aren't we? What's it like uphill?
Quite hard, you mean, quite low here. But I'm doing really alright. It's really back down.
Catherine, you could try a piece. 16 miles down, 16 to go. I'm glad I'm not on one of those. Or I wish I was on one of those.
Yeah. There's a car, I think. See?
Right? We've become expect to have like kiddie things on the shoes. So you don't have to keep your feet on the pedals. You know what I mean? It's like
16 miles down and 16 miles to go. The only thing I'm glad about is that I'm not on one of those.
One more time. In 3, 2, 1.
16 miles down and 16 miles to go. The only thing I'm glad about is that I'm not on one of those. This is quite...
And here we go.
16 miles down, 16 to go, and I'm jolly glad I'm not on one of those. Are you comfortable?
No, I'm really uncomfortable. This is a horrible metal box. Slow down.
This is a nightmare. I am absolutely exhausted. And the panting is very real, I can assure you.
Okay, don't say anything now, just carry on, be real.
How are you doing? Oh, I don't know why, it's just... No, that's so easy for you to say.
Don't worry about saying anything, just be
Go on.
totally relaxed.
Come into the hard ploughman.
Today I started off on the road.
Well, overtook me doing about 30 miles an hour.
And as Catherine starts chatting and loiter around with her.
Sure. Mike's in.
Circle is female, the straight fork's male. The bisexual bicycle ride on. Now, do you know that poem? But it's so true.
I do now. I do now.
Well, it doesn't rhyme then either. As the man said, all poets are fools, but that does not mean that all fools are poets. Don't grab a knife. So I think I've got the ratio right.
Catherine.
Most of them are rude.
What are you doing? What are you doing? It's your pipe. I mean, if you've got a really delegate, you just have to, you know, to get away.
I hope you've been cycling around on the bicycle since we last met.
No, I haven't done anything since yesterday. Tell me again when you... when did you say you first... Oh, wait, there's an aeroplane going over. Tell me when this bike's fine, then the plane's fine underway. All right, now.
Yeah, good.
Catherine? When did you say you first started cycling?
When I was that high, I used to walk to school, and I cycled to school. We became rich, and I had motorcycles and cars, and I went back to cycling again seriously, I suppose about 1953 or 54.
What bike have you got now?
I have an Ellis, which is made in Fulham, was made in Fulham, and it serves me very well, but I'm rather sorry about the previous machine I had. I had a lovely 1907 BSA, but that got killed by a Mercedes van. I cried my eyes out.
Why did you choose an old bike and not a modern bike?
The modern bikes, they look too clumsy and heavy, and they look as if they may be made by the local blacksmith. I don't like them at all. They must be very uncomfortable to ride with those straight front forks, whereas the early machines had curved forks which absorbed the undulations in the road.
Which one was your bike? We could get a shot of it.
This heap of rust here.
With the go past the turtle on the front.
That's right, yes. Well, the turtle, you see, I was cycling along one day through Twickenham, and I stopped for some reason, and by the roadside I saw this turtle. So some poor child had lost it, but to my benefit, so I stuck it on my mud guard, and if you remember the Golden Keeble, it had a turtle emblem for its cars, and if anybody gets a bit stroppy and asks me what that thing is, I think it's a prototype Golden Keeble.
It's your patent mascot. Can you show us the Ellis badge on the front again?
That one here. Ellis, Lily Road, Fulham.
Can you take your hand away and put it in and point to us again? Point to it again.
Okay, it's not the...
Well, that's right, yes. They saw the first, this is the 1932. Oh, I had that having a nice time.
Okay, can you move your finger out?
Oh, they are. Maybe have a delicious swim in the canal. factory.
We've got these terribly smart badges, and then we get to this little kind of cut-out cardboard attached with string bits. I'm not quite sure about that.
So when Paul and Catherine just pick up on finding out more about it. Boring by time, so we can have to find that out and...
They're in uniform.
Okay, we're at speed. There's that not right there?
So it looks as though it would have done a fair journey, because it's got its drop handlebars and sort of
Machines of that type.
dog doesn't like cat scenario.
Catherine, thanks. Lovely. Okay. Here we go. Yep.
The salient features of this machine is the fact that it has a rather nice dynamo, a rather nice front brake where you can see everything that's going on.
That's an extraordinary operating brake, isn't it? Just on one side. And
It's an Italian design and a very efficient too.
what I really like is it's got its terribly smart badge here, its terribly smart badge at the back, but what really is this? It kind of lets the side down.
Just, we're on summer camp, it's fun time. That's why.
So what type of bike was it? I mean, it looks as though it could have gone a long way.
It was designed as a toy machine. As far as we know, the person who had it before me had...
Start that one again. Sorry to interrupt. Catherine, can I ask that question?
So it looks as though it would have done a fair journey. What type of bike was it?
It was a towing machine. As far as we know, the person who owned it before me did some continental touring, hence the fact that we have two lugs on the front on the front forks, so you can put the light either side depending on which country you're travelling in.
Oh, I see.
Left or right-hand drive, you see what I mean?
The regulations.
Yes.
And you've got the regulatory Brooks seat, which is rather
yes,
stylish and nice.
Yes, this is a modern seat. Unfortunately, the original was killed in a car crash, but I don't talk about that. Memories are too painful. A very nice pump, which dates from the 20s or 30s. I don't quite know which.
Yeah, the Maffel's slipping a bit. You've done a fair few miles today in it. What's it like to cycle? Is it smooth?
Very nice machine, yes. You can even hear the clock ticking.
Can you hear a pin drop though?
Not quite. Near enough.
What about keeping up the condition of it? I mean, that must be quite hard.
That's the original 1950 rust. I can't destroy that.
So that's got to be left.
Yes. Another main feature about this machine is you've got one there, and one there. 3 gear levers and 12 gears to play with. Quite handy.
So that's
So I can
ideal.
get up most hills and would you like to see the other side of the
Just
label?
touch that turbo zimmer.
Turbo Zimmer.
What is it? Just put your hand down and touch the cardboard on it.
Oh, down here,
Just
yeah.
Catherine, thanks. Just do one more time, please.
At the back, Catherine.
The back.
Yeah, you went like this. You went like this. Yeah, you went this way.
Oh, right.
Okay, hand away, Catherine.
Would you like to see? Would you like to see the other side of it?
Yeah, this is what I saw. This is the side I was seeing.
That's great.
It's that side, and when you're in the console, you have it on this side, and then hang it back on, okay? Can you do that?
Yeah.
So when?
So you got it on the wrong side.
Speed.
Go.
So when you're in England, you have it on that side, and when you're in France, you have it on this side.
Or in any European country, we have it on this side.
Oh, right.
There are 2 lugs, you see, one lug this side, one lug that side, for that reason.
Perfect.
I want you to do that again, but just a bit quicker and put
Yeah,
it
a
back
bit
on. So
quicker.
you want to say, hi, CK
Right, hang on,
Catherine.
wait for
Oh,
it.
sorry.
Speed.
Go. Okay, so when you have it in England, it's on this side, and when it's on the continent, it's on that side. Quite straightforward, really. Okay.
Okay, guys, if you give it 3 and then start just pointing and talking about the bike, random things.
In the order or
In
not?
fact, you can do these. You
10
can point to
seconds
these
worth.
again and to the cardboard.
Yeah.
Okay, go.
Okay, so we were talking about the lights there, weren't we?
You can take the hat off and hang it back on, Catherine.
Pulled by the cable which you had just attached.
Hand away.
And the 3.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, you can just stand and talk to each other now, don't you?
And then this.
and that.
My favourite piece of artwork there. And of course Brooks saddle. Oh yes.
Polished, it needs polishing. Brass needs to be constantly polished.
Yeah.
It goes very dull.
Yeah.
Yes, the fellow.
It was a drain hole covered with leaves, and the front wheel went down the drain hole, and she went straight over the top and landed on her head.
Of course, yeah.
Because whatever goes wrong with these things, you go over the top and you land on your head.
Never backwards.
Never backwards. Well, very rarely backwards, unless you can be very quick.
See where you're going.
Yes, one of my colleagues riding to Switzerland just recently, at least was riding with his feet over the handlebar. Because you know, when you're going fast and having a real accident, you put your feet over the bars, as you've probably seen.
Yes.
And then, of course, when the accident happens, you shoot off feet first. And that happened to one of my colleagues on the roads to Switzerland this year. The front tyre came off, the wheel jammed up. But of course, he shot off feet first and damaged his knees. Rather, if he'd had his feet down on the pedals, he would have shot off head first and damaged his head. So, count your blessings.
Well, yeah, it's better to
Yes.
definitely knees. Gray's knees are far better than Gray's.
These are lovely to maintain. They're lovely to have. And as you say, they're so beautiful.
Yeah.
They really, really are beautiful. But it's strange people who ride them. Because you've got to be silly. You've got to be a big bit silly, or you wouldn't ride it. But if you're too silly, it would kill you. So it's just a very tight range of silliness between it being so silly it kills you and not silly enough to get on it in the first place. And I'm assuming you're silly enough to ride it.
I'm in that. I class myself
You
in
count in
that
that very narrow band.
I think I could cope with that.
Yes.
I mean, you could have anything, Lionel, in terms of a lovely modern mountain bike. I mean, why have this? I mean, she's beautiful. She's lovely, but why?
You've got it in one. It's pure. Look, it's Silly Tail, and we're back on that one. It is so beautiful. But it's minimalist sculpture. And the reason it's minimalist sculpture is, although bicycles have fashions and various fashion gizmos that come and go, the purity of the bicycle stays. And the reason the purity stays is you can't alter the engine significantly, because the engine's this bit, fueled on cornflakes or whatever, rather than petrol. But because you can't alter the power of the engine, the only way you can make the bicycle go better is keep it pure. Once you start putting deluxe editions and wonderful record players and all sorts of chromium-plated gizmos on it, the thing goes slower. Unlike a car where you can increase the engine power, you can't increase the engine power of a bicycle.
So
all you can do is have it pure.
You wouldn't exchange my mountain bike for this? No, he goes.
How could I? How could I? No, it is just so beautiful. And of course, they're so simple to maintain. There is nothing, it's minimalist sculpture. There is nothing to go wrong. See, the chain never falls off.
Well, yes, you're advantaged. You don't have one, do you?
That's right.
At all?
The only time we've had a chain on this bicycle is when the Lord Mayor of Basingstoke with his chain of office. That was the nearest thing to a chain. The tyres never go flat, because it's just a 5 metre length of solid rubber.
So what else could happen? I mean, the seat could fall off.
Well, you could fall off and land on your head. That's the only trouble.
Yeah. Slow boy!
Okay, here we go then.
So Lionel, what about maintenance?
There's very little to go wrong. And of course they were made by simple people with simple tools, so it makes it easy for a simple man like me to repair it. The tyre never goes flat. It's solid rubber. It's just a 5 metre length of solid rubber with a joint on it somewhere, if we can find it. There's a very conspicuous joint on the back tyre, because I made a bit of a mess of doing that.
Oh, I see it.
Sorry.
Apparently, when you said about the tyre, so it's have to do that.
Okay.
I'm really sorry.
Where's the joint gone? There it is.
There, yeah.
So, Catherine, can you go
That's not as good.
That's not too bad.
Yes. Yeah.
Just move the back forward and back a little bit, Lionel. That's it, and back.
There we go.
Forward.
Yes. Sorry, that was too fast, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Try that one more. Just
There she goes.
lovely. Thank you.
You go on me.
I'll start you.
Okay.
You have to wait till I've started. So, Lionel, what about the tyres? They're not like my mountain bike ones at all.
No, they never go flat. They're a little bit hard on your bum, which is why the saddle is on rubbers, but the tyre will never go flat. It is just solid rubber with a joint. So I just cut a 5 metre length of the tyring, wrap it round the rim and do a joint. You need to get it tight, because if the tyre comes off, it will jam in the forks and you go straight over the front and land on your head, which isn't a good idea. So you need the tyre to be fairly tight on the rim, but it's simple. That's the loveliness. Everything is simple.
It's wonderful. It's wonderful. So what? I mean, supposing I want to buy one of these. I mean, where do you get
Hold on
them
a sec,
from?
Captain. Hold on a sec. I'm just getting it grabbing it.
Actually, this isn't the cut. Oh, it's maybe it is.
It might be.
Okay, yes, Steve.
So what about buying one of these? I mean, where do you go? Where do you get them from?
I think you get into the circle of old bicycles, perhaps with a more modern bicycle that is readily available. These, of course, do come through the auction houses. This particular one, because I was in the high bicycle world already, I learnt that it had been found on a builder's skip. And I went straight for it.
Me.
Yes, goodness
You
me.
can hardly believe that, can you, in the
it wa-
condition it's in now?
It was a barn that was being converted into a house. And the builders had thrown out everything that was in the barn prior to turning it into a house. And this was discovered on a skip. But I gave £1,000 to the man who found it on a skip, thinking, that's a £2,000 bicycle, but there's £1,000 wrong with it. I'll pay £1,000 before the next person does. So they come, and once you get to be known as someone with old bicycles, they come even more. For instance, I had somebody ring me up fairly recently saying, Lionel, there's one in a junk shop not far from me. Quick, straight in the car and out. Yes. So this one was found outside a barn. This one was found in a skip outside a barn.
Ask the question again, please.
Yeah, I'll start you.
Okay.
Yeah, at speed.
Where did you find this one, Lionel?
I learnt of this one because one of my colleagues in the cycle club had been tipped off that it was lying in a builder's skip outside a barn conversion in Lancashire. But I gave that lucky finder £1,000 for the rusty wreck.
Was that a good price?
Well, I looked at it and thought it was a £2,000 bicycle with £1,000 wrong with it. For instance, the wheels had stood on the dirt floor of the barn for maybe 70, maybe 100 years, and the bottom had rusted off both wheels. So I had to re-rim it and re-spoke it. But it's come out as a beautiful bicycle. It really is a lovely riding machine.
Is it number one in your collection?
Definitely, definitely. I have other loves, of course I do. But it is not only so beautiful, but it's so nice to ride. You see, the qualities vary enormously. Just like with a mountain bike, you can pay £100 or £1,000 for a mountain bike, depending on the quality.
Yeah, you can
This,
pay it.
this is a high quality, this is a high quality, yes, this is a high quality high bicycle, which makes it very pleasant to ride. And a joy to have. And of course, that's another thing about bicycles. A good bicycle, a pure bicycle, is always beautiful. It has to be beautiful, because otherwise it won't go very well because of this thing about the engine. Because you can't have an ugly bicycle that is pleasant to ride. It is almost a requirement of being easy to ride that it is beautiful. It's like, just like all poets are fools. All lovely bicycles are beautiful. All bicycles that are lovely to ride are beautiful.
So this is the two major qualifications.
That poets are fools and bicycles are beautiful. Yes. Pure sculpture, pure art. And I'm a lucky boy. Yes.
Where is the cut?
I don't think you'll find the gap on this one. The tyre is solid rubber. Sorry, yes,
me,
Catherine,
yeah.
to you. Sorry. The tyre is solid rubber. Nothing to go wrong. No chance of a puncture. Just solid. 5 metres long, just in a long length. And somewhere there's a joint. What do we want to do with the spokes? I don't know.
There's lots of them.
Lots of them. Oh, funny. We had a little mentally retarded girl, and she was fascinated by them. Sorry. Yes, she was. We had a little girl who was fascinated by the spokes. She was plucking them. She was chewing them. She got thoroughly oily, of course, because my my bicycles are like that. But you see, they're so pure. Now, and I realised sort of halfway across that I'm representing Britain.
Front brake.
And it's funny that across a swath of old East Germany, across a swath of Germany, there are people who had never previously met Britons. They'd only met Russians, and of course they're local German citizens. There are people who'd only met Russians as foreigners, never Britons, whose stereotypical Englishman
Is you.
on a high bicycle.
On a high bicycle.
I think really they got it right.
They'll get a shock when they come to London and
That's how you ride it.
see normal mountain bikes.
You just hook your thumb round it when you're riding.
Oh, yeah.
It's so lovely to
Yeah.
ride. It is so gentle.
But it doesn't stop you.
Not very much.
No.
But the funny thing is, it gets very hot, as the kinetic energy of
Well, I
motion...
can imagine changes to heat.
From friction, yes.
Yeah.
As the kinetic energy
Yeah.
of motion turns into heat. So there's a nice bit of science there.
Yeah.
That you touch that after a long descent, and
Well, yeah,
yes, your hands
very
hurt.
hard. Well, like
yes.
even brakes, even normal brakes do
Yes,
that, don't they?
yes.
If you
But
particularly
I've never
cars,
tried it. Yes, that's right.
brake pads, you don't
Yes,
want to
they
stick your brake
smell.
pads out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Even though they're asbestos.
Yes.
Yeah, I
You
think
see,
it is tremendous actually.
The spokes are just...
Which way do you want to go? Go either side of you?
I think just pass all to my left, yeah.
Follow the signpost to Newham, wherever that is.
Okay, guys, action.
Okay, we follow the signpost in Newham, at Newham Common, crossroads, straight on under railway, over the A30. What's the A30?
Sorry, I'm going to start you again.
Okay.
You're doing a bit of period costume speak. I had the 8:30 at the
A30.
Okay, ready from the top
running.
and action.
All right. We are shortly after visit. Oh no, we're on the wrong line here.
Yes, we're at the Fox.
Follow the signpost in Newham, and Newham Common, crossroads, straight on under railway, and over A30.
Yep. And then
That's
just
easy
after
enough.
the road sign, Greywell Village, and then back home.
And then
Thank
visit
goodness.
Nately Skers Church, is suggested.
Yes.
Very interesting Norman building. Wonderful.
Yes, right.
We think of everything.
Let's
on
go
this
then.
camp.
Right. Yes, they've done it very well.
That
right.
one tucks into its hammer brake, and we're off. Right. Thank you very much.
I'll go. Now, what have we got to say? What was
Just a brief chat about where you're going and then,
ready?
then go for it. Yeah.
So we turn left here and not
We're
to
off.
Nately Church.
And we follow the sign that
then
we
home for
talked
lunch.
about just now.
Home for a cup
And
of
we'll
tea.
be back for tea.
Home for a cup
Right,
of
off
tea.
we go, ladies.
Right, whoops.
Okay.
Bye, thank you.
See you later.
You can tell we've been here. You've been.
You're too much.
Still angry.
It's line just...
I'll do a trial run.
Really slowly. Yeah.
This is my speediest.
That's too slow, actually.
Right.
Hey, do you want us to go back on that line?
Yeah.
I'll get to go both ways on that same shot, yeah?
The real cyclist. Right.
See ya.
Right.
I'm going to get all these guys coming close.
Steaming ahead. Sheep, better.
Back the other way on that same line while running.
Right, okay. Shadow. Sorry.
Lovely shot.
Okay, we're at speed.
Action. Going back again. Thank you, Catherine.
Great. Here comes another cyclist actually. Get this guy.
Do you want to cross with it, Catherine, in front of the camera if you can?
Yeah.
Cyclist. Come now.
Go now.
Right, thank you.
Something there.
Fancy free.
Here goes. Okay, couple of paces back.
So basically, if I come to the edge of you, is that okay where I am now?
As you're leaning forward like that, that fits the frame well. Yeah. So all you got to do is
I'll have
go
to
back
stop.
about 10 feet. Yeah. Hit the brakes.
I'll behind you.
Well,
Okay, we're running. We're at speed.
wait a minute. So many cyclists. Ready when you are. Okay. Don't go too fast. That's all I want.
Okay, and action.
See many cyclists.
Yeah, we're at speed. Yeah, it's almost nasty about the shot really, isn't it?
See many cyclists. Hey, wait for me! Wait for me! Hang on, I'm coming! Here I go. Okay, I think you can stop there.
One more pass, Catherine.
Oh, come on. I think I could. It's good, isn't it? Is it anything like a...
That's right, it looks very...
I think I've cracked it.
I think you have. I'm just going to get one.
It is easier if you go faster. Going around corners.
We want to see it before you get on. So if you're maybe up with your husband, and then Catherine, maybe you like to say, do you want to come sit down and tell us about it?
Yeah.
Okay, we're at speed.
Okay, Catherine.
Bill, this is no ordinary bicycle. In fact, it's no ordinary tricycle either, is it?
No, quite true. It's a Humber tandem tricycle. We're actually custodians from the Cycling Touring Club for it, which we've been for 12 years. It's an 1884, as I say, Humber tandem tricycle.
1884, goodness.
Yes.
So how does it work? How did Margaret, you're the other half of the team. How do you get on and give it a go? Yes. I want to see how it works. Oh, so you're both sitting in front of one another?
Yes.
And you would have had your long, elegant
Yes,
Victorian
yes.
skirt, of course. And how did you... What's the front wheel for? Because that's...
The front wheel, in Victorian times, this is what we tell the school children anyway, that in Victorian times the gentlemen were very polite, and it's just to let the lady off.
Oh, how wonderful. Isn't that glorious? Now, presumably there aren't many of these around today.
We have found one more a few weeks ago in Gunnersbury Museum. They were doing a cycling year on bikes, and there was another one in there, but as far as we're concerned, there's not many of them about.
And you found it where, and what sort of condition?
Well, as I say, we're custodians from the Cycling Touring Club for it, and it just became available, really, in as much that we've had to put new rims, new spokes on it to bring it to the condition that we're able to ride it.
It's glorious, it's glorious. But if I had to insure something like this, I mean, what sort of figure would I be looking at? I mean, would it be expensive and thousands?
Well, yes, we're talking about 20.
Goodness me. So you don't take it on very, very long journeys?
No, not now.
Well, it's not fair to the machine anyway, you know.
It isn't. It isn't fair to it because, you know, we try to keep it not too fast because we like to treat it with respect.
So, how much would I insure it for? And I mean, what exactly is its age?
Well, it's 113 years old, 1884, I think that's right. And I think it ought to be insured at least 18,000.
Pretty impressive. And it's in glorious condition, and well done you two for giving it a second lease of life, really.
That's right.
Well, it's nice to take it out and ride it and show people what it's like, because, you know, it's all right in museums, but they don't see what it's like to really ride and do, you know, so we quite enjoy it.
How far have you been on it?
12 miles is about the minute, yeah. We do a lot of school talks, as I say, and once we've done the school talk, we go into the playground and give the children rides on the front, which they enjoy. So,
amazing. What about the comfort level? I mean, is there anything sacrificed because it's so sort of, primitive looking?
It's not. I know it looks primitive, but it's not. It is quite comfortable.
Would you like to get on and drive it round for us?
Yeah.
I love the lamp as well. It's wonderful to have all the original pieces.
of course, we have got all the period costume as well.
We had hoped.
Yep, I hope so. You want me to go down and come back?
Yeah, if you go round the loop, that'd be great. Not in the south.
All right, keep going. Please.
Just one more time, one more lap. I think it's about the right speed for me to keep up with you, this one. Are you ready, Matthew? I'm going to go to my right.
Big grin.
Okay.
Oh, thank you so much.
All right.
That looks great. It looks so elegant when you're riding it.
You already come around again?
That's wonderful. It's a very good turner, isn't it? Really good.
All right.
Just one more, I think.
One more, right.
Woo! We're racing now. That is great, isn't it? 12 miles though on this. Is that Shalford and Surrey by any chance or not? Shalford Cycle.
Joe,
Is it?
I mean, not
I'm
Joe,
from Guildford.
is Catherine there?
Ah.
Catherine, can you walk up to the bicycle, please? The tricycle. Lovely, and just walk back out the same way you came.
Bugger, they built me a house.
Have you got somewhere to stay?
I live by that little blue Morris Minor van. A little house with windows. Is it really? I've got Queen Bennett.
Oh, really?
The Queen's in there.
No, we couldn't find the Queen.
Old, tandem.
We won't do it in the arm, this oil, will it?
Well, don't really oil it then.
We'll probably do it good. No,
you can just give us 5 secs here, please, could you, before you start the oiling? I'm just going to...
Hold on a sec with that.
Sorry, you can just step out a shot. Thanks. Lovely.
Don't oil the brakes, will you, Rob?
Why not?
It might work.
Oi.
Healthy. It's obviously a very good thing to do, isn't it?
Yep, and away you go.
I think I do. I think I do.
Lovely. Just to repeat that, just a drop more on that near side pedal, just bring it up to the top again. And
Sounds better.
one more squirt. Lovely, thank you. And carry on. Couldn't do the handlebars again for a sec. Good place. You're...
It's never had so much maintenance, this bike.
Lovely. Okay.
You alright?
Yeah, that's great. Are you going to do them all, or...?
Oh, you want them all done?
Well,
I've got a charge for this.
well, it's only a matter of a couple of peas, a bit of oil these days.
Do you want this maintained, Ollie? Does it? Whoops. You'll be moaning, you'll say you got to put oil everywhere on it.
So doing things.
So there we are.
Yes, when you go along,
So we left
accelerate, but then you have to tune that according to the hills.
They're fascinating.
Well, that's what I
I hope you see your bike there.
Well, yes. See there.
You're going to restore your rusty heaps?
Oh, well, I might, but I was given by somebody who recently bought an old house.
Yeah.
He gave me, he said he got 2 old bikes for me, you see, and I got very excited about it. And I thought, well, they probably won't be much good. And the friend who'd introduced me to this chap, who talked about these bikes, said, oh no, they're very interesting bikes. But unfortunately, when I got there, I found that they were in fact 2 rusty heaps.
Rusty heaps.
You know, they were ladies' machines, post-war, not very interesting, but obviously I thanked him very profusely and took them away, because I didn't want him to think I wasn't interested, because otherwise he won't find any more for me.
Rusty heaps. I've got hundreds of rusty heaps at home. One day perhaps I will manage to do something to them.
As I said, these people manufactured arms to a large extent, and that's why they've got rifles and things in here as well.
But so many of them did arms, didn't they?
Yes.
Sewing machines, knitting machines and the lot.
This is called the Buffalo Stand and the Buffalo Conqueror.
Is that what eliminated the buffalo from the American plains?
Well, yes, also the French plains.
Do they have buffalo there?
No. Well, I suppose it was a good sounding name, wasn't it?
Much better without it. No, but I couldn't possibly interfere with you. But
we carried on.
It's much prettier.
Can we just have a look at your bike, the book, while you're standing there? If you could just stay where you
got your particular type of saddle, you see. You'll find that's pretty identical to the saddle you've got there.
Anatomically perfect and extremely uncomfortable.
But the one you've got is probably a little bit...
it's got red felt underneath.
Yes, that's right.
So you have to look.
Yes, I've got one in exactly like that, but in perfect
better
condition.
order.
It's in better condition than the rest of the bicycle. But that's a typical French saddle. And quite a lot of the old machines seem to have that. And in fact, in England they didn't seem to produce those much after the beginning of this century. But in France I think they produced them probably up to the 1940s. That sort of supposedly comfortable anatomically.
2 days riding.
That is a saddle.
What would be good? Can we have a shot of you taking this off? That would be the most useful, because it would cut in with what we've got. Because you presumably saw the saddle before, did you, with the cover on? To have this cover coming off.
Yes, I only put that there just in case it rains. It's of no other importance whatsoever.
Great.
All right.
So,
take it all?
Yes.
Apparently at some time the cycle's been in a pond or immersed in water.
You've got another one. Yes, I've got another one. Not brand new. By the way, that bolt there. Oh, I see.
Yes,
I'm always saying it's welded flat. It's not welded in the tank. It's welded.
Yes, I'm trying to go on Saturday because I do find it very interesting. It's Saturday and Sunday, and it opens at 10 in the morning. So you're coming all the way down. No, the huge queue starts at
Every time you
9:30.
start off, you just sort of pull the decompressor, and you're away.
Most people seem to come one way. So I happened to drive that way. So I went in.
Put in the decompressor.
Well, they're prepared to let people who are going to be good custodians look after them and restore them.
Once again,
Right.
After you when you're ready, Catherine.
And what do you do if you want to start off in getting into veteran bicycles? How do you begin?
Well, the best thing to do is to join a club. The clubs sometimes have bicycles themselves which they are prepared to lend to beginners, or even to let people who are going to be good custodians and publicise their club use for a long time. If not, then there will be lots and lots of people in the club who will have bicycles all around their house which they're looking for good homes for, and they'll be very happy to let anyone who wants to start off cycling have one of these machines. I should think my house could well have 30 or 40 bicycles around it, and there's certainly a few of them there that are just waiting for good homes, which have outgrown the use of our particular family.
So there's some hope for me there, isn't there, really?
Well,
I could borrow one.
you can borrow one, and in fact the bicycle that I did 5,000 miles on last year doesn't belong to me. It belongs to a club, and it was a piece of junk when I found it in the club stores, and I've put it back together, and it's probably done 10, 15,000 miles since then, going all around the world. It's been to South Africa, it's been to Switzerland and Czechoslovakia and France, and it just gets used.
Around the world. You do get a lot of use out of your bicycle. It's not something for you that you display, it's something that you regularly use, isn't it?
I don't really like displaying them. I'd much rather be out riding them and travelling from one town to another on it. One of the best, most enjoyable things that I do most years with my wife is that we go on the islands raid of the Veteran Cycle Club's Scottish section. And the Scottish section, being a kind of warfaring group, like to raid one of their offshore islands every year and have a week touring around. And we've been to Northern Ireland, which is one of the islands off the Scottish coast.
But on a day-to-day basis, it's you know, your bicycle gets fairly major use, doesn't it?
Well, it keeps me fit in that I do 10 miles every morning before breakfast, just to start the day going, and it doesn't interrupt my work if I do it before breakfast.
Now, what about restoration? And I know you had a bunch of bits and pieces delivered just the other day, and someone brought to this camp. I mean, is there any hope for sort of the odd wheel and handlebar and, you know, a variety of different elements?
Most restorations on very early bicycles, you're not going to find any spare parts on the shelf in a shop or anywhere which is actually going to fit. You're going to have to do research, and you're going to have to find someone who can manufacture those components.
So that's one of the key things, really, is working with...
It's a matter of understanding how people actually manufactured things 100 years ago and trying to reenact that manufacturing process.
I'd love to look at the bits you were showing me earlier, weren't you? I mean, all this was literally delivered in a truck.
Mm-hmm.
Can you try and get, can we ask Tony?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Okay, Catherine.
Tony, where did you get all this lot from?
Well, we arrived on Saturday afternoon, and a group of firemen who, volunteer reserved firemen who were on a course a few miles away from here, turned up with carrier bicycles with their front baskets full of scrap metal, and said that they came from in the West Country, and they'd heard that there was a Veteran Cycle Club camp here, and someone in the 1950s down their way had been making some reproduction bicycles, and they had died, and that the widow had been about to throw all of this stuff into the dustbin, and they just thought that rather than it to go into the dustbin or to the scrap metal man, perhaps someone might be interested in seeing if there was anything of any use amongst it. And they just came along, and I said, well, I'm as interested as any person. I'm not guaranteeing that I will use the bits, but I'm interested in. And so they emptied their carrier bicycles onto the ground here and said, what do I owe you? And they said, well, if you can give us a cup of tea, because we're pedalling off back to our course a few miles away. And so we provided them with a cup of tea in the tent there, and then my...
Is that a fair exchange? I mean, I personally would have thought there's not much hope with these bits and pieces.
Well, I've looked at the pieces, and to start with, I thought...
Start that one again. Yeah. Sorry, that was my fault.
Mm-hmm. Well, I've looked at the pieces, and to start with, I thought that most of the pieces here were probably nothing to do with building high bicycles.
Yes.
There are some tools here which, for a long time, I couldn't recognise what their use was. And we came across things like this, and it took us some time before it actually clicked what it was. And then we realised that it was a a front brake template.
Oh, yes, of
And
course. Yeah.
there were just lots of little pieces. There are pieces like that which we looked at and said, what the blazes is that? And then we realised that it was actually a tool for cutting the handles to the right profile. And all of the bits, they weren't assembled, any of these bits. We've eventually managed to get that everything actually fits into a pattern. There are tools that have been used for making these bits here.
Well, that's a great find, really, isn't it?
Could you possibly just talk through the bits again? Because that would be really helpful.
That was lovely to see that, matching up with that.
Yeah, if you could just pick each bit up would be...
If you could
started
go through
with that
just
one.
saying the brake bit and the handle bit would be wonderful, so when you're ready.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and off you go.
Well, we were baffled with some of the shapes that we'd got here, and we thought that they would do nothing to do with bicycles at all. But gradually we've gone through them and we've recognised that suddenly the pennies clicked, that that was a front brake template there. Something there.
Really sorry, we had a crackle of the mic then.
Okay.
Let me come in that place. We could wait for that now.
Got for a bicycle, but you don't think it's... That's what you told me you thought it was, wasn't it?
Well, I think the person who was building it, as far as I know, was a blacksmith in a village, and it would be in the 1950s, and he was probably copying more than one original bicycle, different details off more than one original bicycle. There are some bits which I can recognise as being of a particular similarity to a make. The brake there is, I don't know. I certainly know that those two little useless pieces there, which we thought were actually bearing shells, I know are actually clamps that go on there, and they should have the brake pivot coming across there. And that's definitely a rudge feature. And those could be converted into rudge ones. There's obviously more than one kind of handlebar, because that looks like a rudge handle there. But these are the ends for another handlebar here. It probably was going to be sawn off, and these were going to be fixed to some other kind of handlebar, but there should be a piece of horn going in there, and that's the tool, the other way around, that should be cutting the horn that goes in there. And everything is starting to click together into having some use. This great big monstrosity here is the tool that in the end will tap. Not at all. You can leave me in.
Speed.
Okay.
No, I think you're starting.
Right.
All right.
Okay.
So, talking about this one, I think, please.
Well, there was a silly piece of metal here that had us baffled for a bit, and we couldn't make out what it was for, but we knew it was a template for something. And then it suddenly clicked that it was actually the profile for the brake spoon that goes on the front tyre there. And there are lots of little pieces like that which...
Right, so should we do those two little pieces there?
Yeah, sure. There were two bits here came out of a tin, which we thought maybe were bearing shells.
Okay, so can you pick them up again and put them into that position? That's great.
I'll I'm just straightening that leg out because I get cramp
I
occasionally.
was going to get them to be brought into the shop.
These two pieces.
Sorry.
Right, you ready? And these two pieces.
Sorry.
I was going too quickly, am I?
Yeah, it does.
You have to wait for the when, like when
Right.
you're doing
Okay.
pouring milk.
Go.
and stuff.
Okay.
Action.
And these two pieces would clamp on there, and then the brake lever comes across there and matches up with that. And so
One more time, please.
Oh, I see. So both thumbs on the top when you put them
Right,
on?
okay.
Okay, and go.
And these two pieces would fit together there, and the brake lever would come through here to operate the brake. And this is obviously a rudge feature.
Can you get you to do that one more time? Sorry.
Do you want to just have it?
No, it's all right, I get it this time.
Okay, go.
Hang on.
Oh.
Yeah.
And these two pieces would fit together on there, and the brake lever would come through there to operate that. And this is very similar to a rudge brake clamp. These particular handlebars are very similar to most rudge, but they're not the same as a rudge.
That's great, that's excellent. Good.
Funny handles here, which when we look at that, that's actually the cross-section in there of the wheel rim. And we just think that those were there for twisting the wheel rim into line before welding, or maybe even for twisting them in line after they've been welded crooked.
Can I do some just some listening shots of Catherine up by the tent? And
Yes. I did the last series of the antique show.
Which I didn't see, unfortunately.
Oh,
So I don't know what I'm missing.
It's a good show.
And have you done anything?
I'll launch into this first. Elsie, what's the best way to get into vintage bicycles?
Well, I would always recommend somebody joins a club. We joined 2 clubs after we'd taken part in an event for Rover bicycles specifically, which we'd heard about through having a Rover car. And we'd had such a super weekend of cycling on Rovers that we came home and we only had 1 Rover bicycle of our own. We decided we'd collect Rovers, and we thought, well, where do we go? You know, we've got to mix with people who have early cycles. So we joined 2 cycle clubs, one of them Veteran Cycle Club. And because we're in Yorkshire, the Bygone Bikes Yorkshire Club, who are based in Wakefield, but in fact have, for a regional club, have over 140 members, so it's quite a thriving group. And you will find thriving groups like that throughout the whole of the country. And gradually we put it about that we were interested in Rover machines, and we acquired one for our daughter, and then it seemed relatively easy getting machines for ladies, loop frame ones like the one we're standing next to at the moment. And I had a big problem finding a gents model for my husband. And we'd heard through the grapevine, through our Bygone Bikes, that somebody had had a breakdown with their bicycle in a small town not far from us. And they'd gone to see an old gentleman who somebody reckoned was approaching 90, but he'd had a Rover since he was 17. And we called to see him, and unfortunately the poor gentleman died. And some months later, and it was some months later, after some rather delicate negotiations, I was able to acquire this old gents bike, which was my husband's, the first gents bike that we had, gents Rover. So, you know, nowadays, because people know we collect Rovers, they tend to ring us up and say, do you know there's a Rover such and such place? Or, you know, come and say, you know, I've got one that I want to get rid of. Are you interested?
You're known in the
it
field.
up.
And Alice, where did you begin with veteran bicycles? Did you follow suit and just go for Rovers?
I followed suit in that we eventually got enough Rovers for every member of the family to have 1 Rover. We went to events with our Rovers, and we kept seeing other bicycles. And we hadn't really thought of looking for other makes of bicycles, but I saw people riding penny farthings, or what we call ordinary bicycles. I thought that looks like fun, so I got somebody to teach me how to ride one of those. I was able to borrow one from one of our other bicycle clubs, but they lent me one for a while. It needed lots of things doing to it. And I managed to teach the rest of the family to ride it.
So you set the way, really?
With the high bicycles, yes.
And where do you find them, Elsie? I mean, is it hard to come across? You have to spend a lot of money, and is it hard to come across vintage bicycles?
Well, it depends really what you want to do. I mean, there are people who want to get a rather battered old machine and restore it. And it's actually relatively inexpensive to get one from a club member. Alternatively, you could go to a small country auction where these things are being cleared out of barns. Even today, you can get a bike for £20 or so, which you can make work. And then you go along to a club and you see something you maybe prefer, and you're prepared to spend a little more money, and you might swap what you've got for something else.
What about skips?
Sorry, I'm going to get you to answer that question again, and I do apologise for that.
You'll have to get the spider out of your hair to start with. There we go.
Yes, you'll have to remind me, because I've completely forgotten where we were.
Place?
Can you keep it short and snappy?
Right.
You'll be able to use it.
Yes.
So you can say how much they cost, but I think it would be brilliant. And maybe refer to how much yours cost if you know. That'd be great.
Okay, we're still running.
Go on, you prompt me.
Elsie, where's the best place to get vintage bicycles?
I think by joining a club, because there you're meeting people who are constantly being given bicycles of all sorts and kinds. Some of them have simply been thrown out of coal houses and aren't worth a great deal. But if you want to start off with a rather battered machine to restore, you can get something for very little. Of course, if you want something more unusual, you are going to have to spend a bit more money.
How much are they going to cost? Is it going to cost a fortune?
Well, it very much depends what it is, what conditions it's in, and just how rare it is. When we started collecting rovers, for instance, we hadn't realised they were as thin on the ground as they are. But nonetheless, they do keep turning up. And you can go to the big auction houses, you can go to small country auctions. But for most people wanting to begin, join a club and you'll meet people who are constantly finding machines.
What's the least amount you'd expect to pay for a bicycle if you were a beginner?
Oh, I know people who go and buy bikes for £1 at an auction. I mean, some people can go to... The police seem to collect in old bicycles, and if they're not claimed after a certain while, in many towns they have auctions, and it's amazing how little some of these machines cost. So, you know, money shouldn't be a bar. The fun in having cycles like this is getting on them and riding them. At least that's what I think.
So really for the...
That's
you okay? Yeah,
hey,
fine.
We're just going to get a big wide, so if you could still talk.
In, say, the Phillips auction, this would make £300, which I think is ridiculous.
But they only start being worth money. They're only worth money to the people who want them.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, that's the key.
To anybody else, it is just.
I mean, when you get
to
up to
an old bicycle.
Talking about ordinaries, for instance, we went to a local auction because we haven't bought many ordinaries at. We haven't bought any at the major auction houses at all. John Pinkerton independently runs an auction which is not a VCC event, but it's held at the same time as a VCC event, and we've bought most of our ordinaries from him because you don't pay commission.
And so that's an auction system, is it?
It's an auction system, but it's almost internal to the cycle movement. It's not. We actually
look for the frame size that fits.
Yeah.
Really, so that's quite difficult.
So we actually were prepared to pay what I think was over the odds at £1,800 for a machine, which Tony then made a whole new front wheel for because we weren't. The front wheel was very heavy.
It
but
wasn't over the odds, not really.
well, at the time I felt it was.
£1,800?
Yes, but that's a fairly normal price for an ordinary. I mean, they go much higher than that.
4,000 or so.
Yeah.
4,000.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, there are. I think I don't know what machines are available at Phillips, but there'll be some machines that will go for several £1,000s. I mean, at the last Phillips auction, which was held in Edinburgh last year, a friend of ours bought something for £7,500.
Goodness me, so it is becoming, you know, serious money, isn't it?
Well,
really?
it's only becoming serious money if the major auction houses get involved.
Yes.
Because they appear to set a standard.
Yes.
But in fact, if you're dealing with bicycles as club member to club member, you're going to be much more reasonable about it, because quite often you're doing a trade-in. You want something they've got, and you're not going to be, it's not in anybody's interest to raise the prices. So, you know, I just hope, hope desperately actually, that the auction houses don't take over.
Right, really, isn't it?
Mm.
The runt of the litter.
I think it was put together probably in the factory by one of the factory lads and was used to manufacture. It's possible to try, but it's all.
Don't forget.
No, you told me, you just say when.
Like how much you like cycling, because you love
Yeah.
and the club and.
Okay.
Off you go, Catherine.
Tony, it's a beautiful bike. Tell me a little bit about it.
Thank you very much. The bicycle is a Fiorelli Novi frame made in Italy. It has interesting features on it. The main one of which is the elliptical chain wheel on this side. On the off side, you see, it's not round.
Yeah.
And in so much as it has interesting features on it, this headlamp, for example, incorporates a mileometer and a speedometer, as well as the headlamp, and it's much envied by a lot of people.
The thing to have.
Yes, yes it is, yes, it's quite old, it's quite ancient, and I built the frame up myself, built the frame for £40 and built the rest up myself. The rear rim is concave, so that it's strengthened in order for me to carry all my camping gear with it.
So what date is it?
The date is 1950s, as far as I can tell, by virtue of the chrome. The chrome hasn't peeled off. It could be pre-war, but I give it the benefit of the doubt and say it's post-war.
And how much would I have
about
to...
£200 maximum worth, but because the parts have cost me a lot of money. The elliptical chain wheel in its own right cost me £65. The frame itself was third hand and cost me £40. And then there's everything else to take into consideration. The forks were separate, and they're rust forks, incidentally, and everything else. You see, so the gears are also Italian, known as Campagnolo gears. And I've had the bike for quite a number of long time. Right.
So you obviously. Yeah, I'll repeat a question.
Sorry.
Okay, we'll repeat.
Sorry.
Hang on.
Right.
So Tony, how much is it worth?
£200. I'd say £200. But that's just a rough guess. I'm just speaking off the top of my head, really.
But you built it out of different parts, did you?
Yes, I built it, yes, myself, yes. And please carry on asking me the questions, because that would be a great help. So,
That's fine. So you built it out of component parts?
yes, yes.
How many?
Well, I bought the frame only, and then the wheels individually, and the handlebars and the pedals and the cranks and so on. The cranks, incidentally, are aluminium, and everything else, the pump, the saddlebag, this map carrier and these bottle carriers and the headlight and the hotel, the horn, and everything, just separately. The gears, the front derailleur, it's 10 gears, 10 speed.
So you obviously love cycling.
Oh,
Why?
yes. Yes, it's always been my life. Always has been, always will be. And yes, this machine comes from my own collection. And this is one of my pride of joys, and pride and joys.
That's lovely.
Yes,
That's
thank you.
lovely.
Talking about why again? Sorry, just to overlap this one more time.
Okay, we'll
why
repeat.
have you taken so much care about the bike? You love cycling?
Well, I was brought up to...
To me.
Sorry.
I'll ask you now.
Thank you.
Tony, you obviously love cycling. Why?
The freedom, the fresh air, the countryside, environmentally friendly. It's comparatively cheap, given my personal circumstances. It keeps me fit, and basically that's it. You see. I get so much satisfaction. I've been to quite a number of countries abroad cycling, including South Africa and Ireland, of course, and I can't name the countries that I've been to. But,
Is this your favourite?
Right?
Is this your favourite bicycle?
Yes, it is. Yes.
Why?
Because it's comparatively compact. It's about the correct size for me, being 21-inch frame, and also the short wheelbase, which I have to be very careful of because the turn is so close to the pedals, you see.
Oh, yeah.
You see, I have to be very careful with that. So it's a short wheelbase, and in so much as it's a short wheelbase, the more compact it is, the more efficient it is. And also the elliptical chain wheel, that is also calls for efficiency. And it's just the right size and style for me, which is very important, as if I may say so, I was explaining to Kimberly yesterday. Very important is the...
Perfect.
Yes.
Lovely.
Yes, thank
Fine.
you. And you.
Great.
Thank you.
Good.
Stay there a bit longer because we've taken some more shots of the bike. So we're taking some more film of the bike. So if you can wait there for a minute.
You see? Seriously, yes.
Because it's cycling. It's the favourite thing of yours.
Yes, it's brought me out, you
Yeah.
know. You see, it's made me mix with other people and so on, you see. And, so it's made me a better...
Over the 24 seconds.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, I noticed.
Tony, can you just gesture... Oh, no one walk... Just watch the shadows, please. Can you just gesture to the headlight for me, please?
Turn that round to me? Yes?
Just point at the headlight itself.
Yes, how's that?
Point. Can you point?
Point, oh, sorry,
Yeah.
I see,
Turn the
yes.
handlebars back now, thanks, to where they were.
Yes,
Lovely.
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Point at the headlight.
And that headlight, yes?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, right.
Great, take your finger out.
Right. All right.
Yeah, lovely.
Finger
Right.
away.
Thank you.
Cheers, Tony.
Thank you. And you. Thank you. Right.
I think we're just getting the whole bike back up, I think.
Do you want me to move?
No, just
No?
the whole bike without.
Looking.
Look, yes. Appreciate that, thank you.
Forget about that.
Right, I understand, thank you. Enjoy what I've told you. If you carry on talking to me, please, and say anything, and then I'll answer you.
Can I have it then?
Yes, you can, yes.
Really?
Yes, if you'd like to have a ride in it, yes. Yes.
No, take home.
I don't think I'd like to part with it. You see.
Thanks, Tony.
Oh.
Ready for you?
Les, if you always address your answers to me, is it?
I do, yes.
Yeah, if that's all right.
Okay,
so.
yeah.
At speed.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Captain.
Les, when was the Veteran Cycling Club first formed?
In fact, it's the Veteran Cycle Club It was formed as the Southern Veteran Cycle Club in 1955, south of London. It's never had any geographical boundaries. We've always accepted members from all over the country and indeed abroad. Presently we have something over 2,000 members.
2,000 members?
That's
Can I
right.
get you to go again from the top there? Sorry, dodgy camera move.
I'll ask you again.
Okay.
And actually I'd say cycle.
But if you could keep them short and snappy.
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
So I can bombard you with questions.
Okay, so I just
Stop
answer.
asking me any
Right, I just basically I just answer what you say
Yes.
without elaborating. And
Yes.
okay.
Just like O-level English.
Yeah.
Or O-level maths.
Multiple choice. Yeah.
Yes. Les, when was the Veteran Cycle Club first formed?
In 1955.
And presumably now there's quite a large number of members, are there?
Yes, we now have over 2,000.
Internationally?
Yes, we pride ourselves on being an international club. We have something over 100 members who live abroad.
What sort of members are they? I mean, do you have to be a certain age to be a member?
No, there's no age restriction. In fact, we have members here at this annual camp from 0 to 91. Our 91-year-old rode 40 miles here from Weybridge on the first day in all that heat.
That's pretty remarkable,
On his
isn't it?
recumbent tricycle, which is not in fact an old machine.
So could I be a member? I mean, I've got a modern mountain bike. Would I be able to join the Veteran Cycle Club?
Oh, very certainly. One doesn't even need to own a bicycle to join. The interest and paying the sub is sufficient.
So it's the interest in...
The interest in old cycles and cycling history, those are the two planks of our objectives.
What about the range of bicycles that the members have?
Well, we cover really the whole range of the development of cycle design. There are very few of the very first type of bicycle, or the forerunner of the bicycle, the hobby horse, but some of us have made replicas of those to give school talks. Many of us have the original wooden wheel bone shakers, the first bicycle which had pedals, first made in France in 1865. And we go right through the high bicycle, or high ordinary bicycle, which the public usually like to call a penny farthing, right up to modern times. There are
But it's not called a penny farthing, is it? I mean, there's a proper name for it.
Well, that was the Mickey-taking nickname originally. Cycle historians prefer really to call them high bicycles, and frequently just the ordinary, which was the name by which it was known when they began to go out of fashion as the newer small wheel bicycles came in.
The summer camp here is a pivotal part of your activities in the club. What happens?
It is now, yes. We've been running this since 1979 without a break.
You've been running the summer camp, in case you want to use your Oxford zone. Is that right?
Yes, we've been running an annual summer camp since 1979. What happens, we have, as we have this year, upwards of 200 people of all ages, conditions, men, women, children. The basic system is we set up camp, whether caravan, camping wagon, tent, and then we usually provide indoor accommodation as well. And then we have a series of day rides planned, usually on average about 20 miles. We're not in this for stamina testing. We're here to enjoy ourselves and exercise the machines without straining them or ourselves. So 20 miles is about right. It's a pleasant distance and something interesting to do between the refreshment stops, which we always enjoy.
Brilliant. Great.
Excellent, that was really nice.
Answer in, yeah.
Yep.
Les, I've got my modern mountain bike. Would I qualify as a member of the club?
Certainly, or
Yeah, speed.
Les, I've got my modern mountain bike. Does that kind of qualify to be a member of the club?
You don't need a bicycle at all to become a member of the club. The interest in old cycles is sufficient, and of course payment of the annual subscription.
Can you just, Catherine, can you just ask that question one more time? Sorry, to be a
Yeah.
pain.
Say when you're ready.
Go for it.
Les, with my modern mountain bike, do I qualify to be a member of the club?
Yes, certainly. You don't need to own a bicycle at all. The interest is sufficient. And of course there is also a small matter of payment of the annual subscription. But it's always been just the interest in old cycles and cycling history which is the crucial thing.
That's great.
Great.
When we've muzzled the dog.
At speed.
Do you have to be a certain age to be a member?
Not at all. For instance, at this camp here this week we have several members under 1 year old, and we have a 91-year-old who cycled 40 miles here in the heat last Saturday.
Excellent. Good.
Pretty impressive, actually.
He is, yes. Have you spoken to him?
I
with
don't
him,
know.
with
What route you took today, perhaps, something like that, in a minute.
Okay.
What time you started off this morning, presumably bright and early.
Okay, we're at speed, so...
Okay. What time did you begin this morning?
I was in fact the last to begin after I'd emptied the dustbins, etc. So I didn't leave until 11 o'clock.
And what route did you take?
I followed the route on the route sheet, out through Odium, through the back lanes, no traffic at all, and all the way up to Stratfield Say, where I had lunch in the New Inn, very pleasant sitting out in the garden, and then paid the £5 entry fee for Stratfield Say House. Very interesting indeed.
It's not National Trust owned, is it?
No, it's privately owned. In fact, still owned by the...
Lapsley family.
That's right, the Wellingtons.
Mm.
I think it's Lord Douro now.
Oh, right. Yes. Goodness me.
But